welcome back. Today I'm going to make it was going to be a Regency inspired boudoir cushion. So this is the boudoir cushion, and I managed to get these. It was from a closing down sale about 6 years ago, and I bought 8 of them, and I only have 2 left. So I'm going to do something to go in my workroom in my kind of style of bits and treasures and goodness knows what. But as I started looking through, because these are the colours, you'll have seen this in my last video. I'll put a link in the description or in the information card if you want to see what I did with this. This is a duvet. So these are the colours that go with some curtains that were given me for my workroom. So I found these other fabrics. I've got some, like an offcut of cotton sateen, very wrinkly, a bit of cotton toile de jouy that I've been saving because I love toile de jouy. And then I even found some silk shirting. So those are fabrics. And then the things that I really liked that went with it were lots of lace. So we're not talking massively accurate Regency at all, apart from it will be all stripy. And as it's just been pointed out to me, is this Regency? No, it's not. Is it Edwardian? No, it's definitely not. Am I going to use it? Yes. And I've got this last tiny bit of brocade, and there's all sorts of beautiful things in here. And then lastly, I have some rather gorgeous tassels, which I thought I'd stitch onto the corners of the cushion cover. These are very ancient, came from when I lived in London about 25 years ago, and I finally found a use for them. If you store things, you don't have to hoard. It's not hoarding, it's insulation. Anyway, let's get started. The first thing you need to do is to measure your cushion. So I'm using inches as always. End to end, I think it's 21 inches. So I'm doing it from the seam there. So it's 21 by 12. So what I'll do is I'll add ½ inch seam allowance all around. So that means I need to cut a piece 22 by 13. And that's just going to be the base that provides the stability for all these gorgeous bits and pieces. I've got some linen. This is vintage French linen with a burn mark on it. It's got foxing on it, but you're not going to see it. so I just need to measure this first. 22, so I'm just going to do a little mark there, one there, measure from here, 22, and then just cut that off. And then it needs to be 13 wide. And I wouldn't make it any wider than that, because even though the cushion measures 12 inches across, you want it to be quite snug inside, so I'd almost err on the side of caution. But because we're stitching lots and lots of bits on this, it will take up some of the slack anyway. If it's just a normal square cushion, you know, just one fabric, I would say might even just only allow ½ inch total around, so it fits nice and tight. And this is a great way of using up bits and pieces if you do quilting or dressmaking or even just interior stuff, because it's all little strips. Just put them all together and they look absolutely gorgeous. So this is our base piece, and so everything we want to do is going to be put on here. Before we start stitching and laying out, I'm just going to stabilise a little bit of this silk because it's so thin. I don't know if you can see that. It's just a stonewash shirting. If I try and stitch that on to the linen, it'll probably move around. So I'm going to put a little bit of Boudoir on the back of this. Because we're using so many bits and pieces, we only need a tiny little bit. And I'm just thinking enough to make 2 sort of stripes or ribbon looking pieces. Make sure you put the wrong side of the fabric on your Boudoir. And this is easier than interfacing to navigate your way around, because the inside is rough and then the outside's paper. If you didn't have Boudoir, you could use iron-on lightweight interfacing to give it the body. Obviously it won't stick to anything, but it will provide a bit more stability, which is actually what we're going for. If you find it does this, I don't know if you can see, if you take it off straight away and wave it around to cool it down, turn it over, and you can see it's gone all bobbly. Could be that I have the iron the wrong temperature. Could also be that this is quite old Boudoir, and you can just sort of start to work it around and outwards. It's not going to be perfect, but it will do the job. See, that looks a lot better straight away. If you take the side of the iron and just kind of press in and roll to the edge, you'll be able to push some of those marks out. And this is just an offcut of a bed sheet that I used to make a reproduction 1920s quilt. And again, I'll put the link in the description. So when you've watched this, if you want to go and watch a quilting video. So the first thing I'm doing is, this is the foundation bit that all of these gorgeous bits and pieces are going to be attached to. I know I've got somewhere this one. I really want to do something with this bit of lace, but there's not quite enough to do 2 strips, so I thought I'd make this my middle piece. Obviously I want it to show up more than that. This is so much fun, this bit. You just get to play with beautiful bits and pieces. So I think I'm going to put this over this dark red. I think that will show up really well. So I need to cut a strip. Once this is cooled down, you should be able to peel it off. See? First time. It's not coming off. I can't do it. I thought I'd peeled it off, but it's just peeling off the entire thing. It's not even sticking. So when you've had your fight with your bundle web and your silk, this is going to be pinned on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan the whole thing, and anything that needs ironing on, I'll do that first, and then I'll come back and do the other bits and pieces. Brilliant thing about doing this is it's very similar. I don't know if you've seen my crazy patchwork video, my most popular video. It's the same sort of principle where I'll be laying out lots of raw edged pieces, stitching them on, and then covering them up with bits of lace and ribbon, and just trimming it generally all over. It looks a little bit messy to start off with, but gets better. And I like doing it where you've got a central motif or, starting point, because it means whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other side. I have done them where you end up with, 2 strips like that and it echoes outwards. It's quite hard to get it even. And don't worry if your strips aren't completely straight, like this one's not, it won't show. But I will say I've got this as close as possible to this edge, because if I show you with this bit of lace, you can see it fits well over the background silk that I put on. So when I stitch this down, it's going to cover the raw edges on this as well. So it'll just look like a really neat little satin stripe. What should we have next? I think we'll have some of this. Wow, this is still, look, stitched together. You see how that's stitched together? A few stitches there. That's how it's come from the shop. It's never been used. Well, it is now. So, ready? But look at that. Look at the inside. Isn't that beautiful? So I've done all of the background fabrics, and I had a little bit of issue with, you can see it's popping out there. This is okay, this is going to be covered up, but particularly with this middle strip, it just wouldn't sit flat, but it's fine now. It's never going to move again. And the same with these. I spent ages ironing down the edges, and then again it was just moving around. I couldn't get the pins in the right place, so I've opened them out, I've zigzagged down, and I'm going to cover up all the raw edges. So this thing's never going to come apart. What I'm going to do is put that there, and actually I think it really adds something anyway. So I've cut 2 pieces. Where's the other bit? So this one will go on the other end, and then I just need to make a few final decisions about what's going to go on these ones here. I don't mind leaving that. It looks quite like the lace anyway, so I'm fine with that. So I've got this one. This is a really nice vintage handmade lace, but I really like the colour of that. So I just need to make a few sort of design choices and things. So I did want to get in this sort of blue. I'm not sure, because it's an organza, it just feels a bit modern. The more I've been adding bits to it and stitching it together, I really like the way it's looking, because I was thinking of sort of doing that kind of thing. There's also, this one's quite good, so I could do something like that, but I really like this toile de jouer and I don't want to cover it all up. Although that does look really nice. But this is the sort of thing, you know, that you need to decide on. It's obviously it's purely dependent on what you've got. But I hope showing you the sorts of things that I've pulled out of, you know, my lace collection and my ribbon box and all that sort of thing, how easy it is to make something look really quite kind of vintagey, even a little bit antique-y. So yeah, have lots and lots of fun, and then just stitch all these on. And then when I've made all my choices and stitched them on, I will come back and show you what I've got. So I've made all my decisions, and although I really like the toile de jouer, see it under there, it's not actually about that fabric. It's more about, as was pointed out to me, it's more about featuring this colour and just like having little hints and everything. So I'll probably go back and use that for something else. I've got quite a lot left. I will go and stitch this all down, and then we are done with the front. And I have to say, I'm actually pretty pleased with that. So on this bit here with the ribbon, there's 2 things that are a little bit difficult. So one, I'm fairly certain I don't have the exact colour for it, and 2, I think it's, after everything else is sort of quite light, lots of texture going on, it's just very, very plain and it looks very modern. So I've decided I'm going to use one of my fancy machine stitches that never ever get used to just use the same cream thread that I've used on everything else, and to break up that sort of massive burgundy a bit. So I've cut myself a test strip because I'm not quite sure how big the stitch is, or where it comes down, where the needle comes down and stitches a stitch. So I'm going to try that out now. Okay, I think that's enough of a test. Well, that's a full size. I quite like that. It's quite hard to line up though, because the needle, the straight stitch, if you line up the foot with the line in it there, that's where the middle of the little star flower thing comes out. So keeping that line's going to be interesting. So I'll have a look. What am I going to do here? Oh, I don't know if I like this or not now. I don't think I do. After all that, I don't think I like it. And I'll tell you why I don't like it. Because it's really hard to keep it straight for a start. It's fine if you're feeding through an edge, because then you can line that up on the sewing machine, but I was having to guess, and you can see I've already wandered off, and with a straight line that's just going to get more and more obvious all the way through. So I think probably the best thing to do would be to start this any stitch, any decorative stitch, so part of it comes onto the ribbon and part of it goes there, because then it's always going to be straight, following the straight line. So when you finish stitching, this is hopefully what it will look like. After my broken needle, unpicking of stuff, hacking off bits of ribbon, because I actually had to cut that piece of ribbon off in the end. I wasn't going to say anything, but I did. And that's it with the stitching, that fancy stitch. And I'm actually really pleased with how it looks. So the next thing we need to do is neaten it all up. Because we measured this, we know this is the right size, pretty much. So I'm just going to trim off all the loose bits and pieces. Right, so now I need to cut out the backing fabric to make the back part for this. So we're going to do like a standard envelope back, so it'll just overlap like that. I'm actually going to use the reverse bit of this duvet cover, so it's the darker fabric, because I actually think that would look really nice and really finish it off well on the back. So it needs to be 13 inches across, and then I'll see if that's enough. It probably is. Just try and get it reasonably straight, don't worry about it too much. Cushions are very, very forgiving. So this is half of the strip of fabric I've got, and it's over 18 inches. So the original measurement for the cushion front is 22 inches, and this is already 18 inches this way. So I think I'm going to cut off a piece that's 16 and then see what that looks like. So what we want to do is have, I've picked up the wrong bit, this shorter piece here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to fold this piece back to roughly the middle, like that. So we just need to turn a little hem on that side. That will just be ironed down. And then the other piece needs to come all the way across, overlap probably about to here, with enough for a little hem. So if we just measure what that is. Obviously, if you just want to stitch it in, do that, but this means you've got lots of options. So this needs to be about 16 inches as well, and that'll give us a ½ inch turnover. So I shall cut another piece. So I've stitched those together. So we've got two pieces that both measure 16 inches with a little hem turned. So this needs to fold over to here, and then this needs to go here. So what you do is you work your way from the absolute outside, because I know people stitch this on the wrong way around all the time. I've done it myself years ago. So if you think about how the cushion's going to be on the outside, so what you want to see first is this nice generous fold, and then we've got this overlap, so it doesn't matter how much the cushion pulls apart, all you'll see is this fabric. And then we line it all up. I'm going to start pinning just the sides to start with, because we've got tassels to put in as well. But the tassels are quite bulky, so if I put those in straight away without pinning all the sides a little bit, it will distort the cushion and it'll make my job a bit harder to make it look nice at the end. The other thing is I'm a bit worried about stitching these on the machine. I don't know whether to leave like a little space. We'll see. I'll probably just try it and see if it works, because it's quicker to do it on the machine and probably more secure. So you can see me just pinning each side a little bit to hold it into position. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post the tassels through. I could stuff them in that way, but there's a danger of getting these tassely bits caught in the sewing, and we just want this bit. And you can have a little look, and it's probably going to look best. Remember, this has got a ½ inch seam allowance all the way around, so we don't want to be tight up to the top. We want a little bit of dangle. I mean, can you say that? No point in having a tassel if it doesn't dangle. So we've got our first tassel in. So I'll go away and I'll pin this just like you've seen me do the rest of it, and I'll get the machine back out and we'll start stitching it. I just thought I'd say a quick word about where to start on this. So the areas that are going to take most stress are along these sections here, because of the overlapping back part to where I put the cushion in, and there might also be a little bit of stress on these corners. I will try and stitch through these a few times. Hopefully it'll be okay. Right, so we've been round once. Before I reinforce all these sides and corners and goodness knows what, I'm just going to have a sneaky peek to make sure that everything's in the right place. So to reinforce it, I'm going to start stitching and stitch all the way across the overlapping part. Normally I would stitch all the way around just twice and then zigzag overcast the edges, but with the weight of these tassels that's not going to be possible, so I can't really do any close trimming of the seam or anything like that, so we'll just have to compromise. And then when I get to these corners, I'm going to stitch backwards and forwards across the diagonal, and then I will trim, not very short. Normally I would clip right to that corner to turn a corner, but with these I don't know how much of this tassel-y attachment thing will be stitched through, so I'm going to secure it first and then I shall just cut it there, and then that means it's not going to pull out over time, because once it's pulled out there's no way you can put it back in. So I'm going to do that now. Right, so you can see that rather attractive stitching there. I don't think it's going to come undone. That's the main object of the exercise. So I'm going to do this on every single corner, and now that's been really substantially reinforced, I'm literally just going to take the tip of that corner off, because I want to leave these bits quite long. And I mean, if you weren't certain that they weren't going to come out, you could just leave those corners in if you wanted to, but I want to make it as tidy as possible. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's all been stitched together, and I did decide to go in and overcast the edges. Once I'd chopped off the corners with the tassels, I just stitched around slowly because it was all a little bit fray. You can see I haven't trimmed it at all. So it's been reinforced along here, the sides, all the corners, and then the whole lot's been overcast. The moment of truth, what's it going to look like? Oh, it's looking promising. Gosh, it's so heavy. I can't tell you how heavy it is. So here, we've got a nice overlap that finishes in the middle. So that's going to look really smart on the back. Here's the front with these insane tassels. Aren't they hilarious? So to use an envelope back cushion one end. These are slightly more awkward because they're long. Push this all the way down. Really, really make sure that it's pushed down. Get the overlapping bit, hook your thumb under it, and push and roll your cushion. And then keep pushing and rolling, and that way you put as little stress as possible on the overlapping part, and then you just have to keep pushing and rolling that, and it sits nice and tidy at the back. So here it is on my crazy sofa, and obviously the tassels are really heavy, so it pulls the corners over, but I actually don't mind that. I kind of think, I don't know, it makes it look more like a bolster cushion, so almost like that sort of Regency thing going on. Got all the stripes, the sort of satiny look, and you can hardly see the ribbon detail. There you go, you can see it in all its glory. I have to say I'm quite pleased with that. Okay, so after deciding that I thought it was okay, somebody had the brilliant idea, I think it was my son, to stuff out the cushion cover with some toy stuffing. So what I did was I pushed the cushion all the way to one end and then filled out the other end with a lot of toy stuffing, because it's not going to get taken in and out very often. And this is what you can see here, all the lovely glamour shots. Thanks for joining me along with one of my little crazy upcycling projects. I'll see you again really soon. I hope you're enjoying all your upcycling, crafting, creative, quilting endeavours, and I'd love to know what you're up to. So you can always come and follow me on Instagram and let me have a sneak peek. If you're on Instagram, I might give you a follow. We'll see what you're up to. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.